Om Samasta Namami Chinmaya Reading of the English book Parenting, authored by Guruji Swami Chinmayananda. Guruji Swami. The Toronto Chinmaya Mission held a family spiritual camp at Brock University, St. Catharines, Canada from July 12 to 18, 1997. During this camp, Swami Tejomayananda, the then head of Chinmaya Mission Worldwide, was approached by several parents who asked for Swamiji's advice on matters relating to parenting, particularly of teenagers. In response to these requests, Swamiji held two satsangs in which he talked about this matter quite exhaustively for spiritual as well as practical, from a spiritual as well as practical viewpoint. Although these talks were specially directed to parents of Indian origin who are raising their children in the West, all parents will find these talks extremely helpful. These talks were so well received by the audience at at the camp that it was decided to publish them in a printed format to make them available to the general public. The result is this booklet. We hope that the readers will find the vision as well as the practical guidelines contained herein useful in raising their children. Parenting introduction. This satsang is specially focused on a particular theme, which is a matter of interest and concern to all parents who have growing children. Those who have very small children are also concerned as to how to really educate them or look after them. Parents whose children are there who are already teenagers and causing worry and anxiety have more problems. Then there are those who are recently married. They also wonder as to what to do when they will have children. Parenting has always been a difficult job. The interesting thing is that these parents want me to speak on this subject, and when I give them certain advice or suggestions, they say, Swamiji, that is all right for you to say, but only if you had children of your own, then you would have understood our situation. So, first of all, let me tell you that I have not selected this topic on my own. Many parents have come to me for advice. In asking for advice from me, in a way, they are right. Because sometimes, if one is not a parent, one can look at things more objectively. And particularly so if one is a student of spiritual knowledge or Vedanta. When parents go for advice to a person who is worldly minded, the advice they receive from the worldly standpoint doesn't solve their problems. So, first of all, let me tell you that even though I don't have any children of my own, I was also born and brought up in a family. I have not come down from the sky. So I also have been what family have seen what family life is with parents and brothers and sisters. Also, even though I didn't cause too many problems to my parents, I might have caused a few at least. Secondly, we, as teachers of Vedanta, see other individuals growing up. For example, when we conduct the Vedanta courses for the brahmacharis, that experience also teaches us a lot. Many young people come to these courses to look after them and to take care of them is not very easy. So the problem is how to take care of these children, especially teenagers who can be very rebellious, revolting and resistant. The more you want to teach or advise, the more they revolt. So then sometimes we feel frustrated and feel like throwing up our hands in utter despair. What to do then? Question arises whether we should allow them what they want to, or we should force them what we want them. So the question is one of either or. These questions cannot be answered in either or language because there is no such black and white rule. Every individual is very unique. No principle or set of rules can really be effective all the time. This reminds me of a particular statement that I have quoted many times before. A man said, before marriage, I had six theories of raising children. Now, after marriage, I have six children and no theories. There are parents whose children are well behaved. They say, Swamiji, we are very lucky. Our children are good only due to God's grace. Sometimes they give credit to God. That is great. Others give credit to themselves, whichever way the parents think it is all right. Before we start our journey on this topic, let me tell you that I am not going to give you some kind of a magical formula or some kind of a dose that will give immediate relief. Instead, I have to think together. We have to think together and find out what best we can do in this situation. Be cool. The first thing that is required when you face any problem, not only related to parenting, but to any problem in life, whether it is a problem in the office or family, a financial problem or any other problem, is that you have to keep cool. First of all, calm down and relax. There is no use of getting very agitated and over anxious. You must relax. That is why what I do. I also face a variety of problems in running a very big organization. Last year, that is in April 1996, I had a very nice program in Australia, and then proceeded to Singapore, where a fax was waiting for me. We had to inaugurate our international school in Coimbatore in June 1996. The fax said that 4 crores rupees were required to complete the first phase of construction. When I read that fax, I felt almost dizzy. I immediately realized that this world was round and it was rotating and moving and it was not a stationary world. I said, now what I can. So the first thing I did was that I went to bed. On getting up, I started thinking and talking as to how we could solve the problem. The point is that when you face any situation, the first thing you should do is to calm down. You can't get too very excited over all that. Learn to relax first. Not a single unique problem. Second thing to know is that the problem that we are facing is not unique to ourselves. It is a very common and general problem. For example, when a doctor sees a patient, he does not get excited because he is used to seeing many such cases. Every patient thinks that his or her case is a unique one and most serious, and that the doctor must immediately attend to it. The doctor, on the other hand, is very calm and quiet. As soon as you reach there, he gives you a long form to fill out. There is this joke about a man who came to the emergency room with stab wounds in his back and the head bleeding profusely. He somehow reached there, and the receptionist asked, "Have you got insurance?" Similarly, the theft is committed in your house. You go to the police to report. First of all, they hesitate to even to take a report because then they will have to act upon it. Then slowly they start asking various questions. But we feel that something should be done immediately. So please understand that what is happening to you is not unique. It is a very common thing. Think of your own teenage years. The next thing to remember is that whenever you feel that your children are misbehaving or are going out of control, please think of your teenage years also. You must, you should generally forget that while parenting. I don't think that there is any person who, while growing up, was not rebellious. Some people might have rebelled only at the mental level, not verbally nor or physically. No doubt some would have been silently angry, others would have expressed it, still others would have walked out to demonstrate their protest. I think that in 99% of the cases, something must have happened. Why the have we forgot? Why have we forgotten that? Nothing new. Why do we think that whatever is happening as the great philosopher Socrates was born before Christ? Do you know that he has said something to the effect that children in his days were becoming disobedient, disrespectful. They didn't know how to show respect to their parents, and he wondered what kind of creatures they would grow up to be. In our Puranas, it is said that the Narad Muni once came down from Vaikuntha Lok, heavens, to this world, went around and saw that there was only adharma, unrighteousness everywhere. People were misbehaving, and children and youth were doing this and that. He got so worried as to what would happen to them. Then he went to Brahmaji and asked, "What will happen to these people? Can you tell something?" This is written in the Puranas. So, what is happening today happened during the times of Socrates and Narada also too. The problem is of I-ness and mine-ness. When we think of this problem logically, step by step, we come to our next point. When you say the children, are you really worried about all children or only your children? If you think a little more closely, you will find that all your worries are not because all children in general are misbehaving. You are worried because your children are misbehaving. Thus, we come to our next point. All this worry or anxiety is not for the child, but it is for my child. So, where does the problem lie? Not in the child, but in that possessiveness of myness. Please note that here we are thinking from the highest spiritual standpoint. Then, we will come to the practical point of view also. If we go one step further, we come to still subtler level. First, it appears that the worry was for the child, then the worry is for my child. Still subtler, the fact that the action of my child has a direct repercussion on me, on my image. If my child behaves badly, everybody will ask whose child is that, and if my child behaves well and does well, we say, do you know that the child who sang very well is my child, and the one who got the gold medal, that is my child. So, that is why it is said that man begins in heredity when his child is brilliant. It is in our genes, they say. It is adding a feather to one's cap. Similarly, when the child goes too much out of control, they may even announce in the newspapers that they have nothing to do with the child and that they are no more responsible for him. Thus, they even disown the children. Thus, from the spiritual standpoint, all this worry and anxiety is stemming forth from the sense of I-ness and minus. Look at it very objectively. Then you will discover that what bothers us more in our is our image. We are worried because our children's behavior affects our image. Think very seriously. Now, give you my own example. In 1981, Poojya Gurudev Swami Chinmaya told me that I had to conduct a Vedanta training course in Siddhavadi for the first time in Hindi medium. Applications were invited for the same, and there was a person whose job was just to collect the applications. I was traveling at that time. This person informed me that many applications had been received and added, the stuff doesn't seem to be good. When I read his comments, his comments, I became very sad for some time. The stuff doesn't seem to be good. Meant that the candidates who had applied were not good. I began thinking about it. Why did I become sad upon hearing this news? I had not even seen the applications, leave alone the candidates. The course had not yet started, and then it dawned on me. We are conducting the Vedanta course for the first time in Chinmaya. It had never been done before. I was the first person who was going to conduct this course. If the students don't turn out good, everybody will ask, who taught them? Who was the teacher? Who was the acharya in charge? I saw that my sadness was rising only from this kind thought. I asked myself why I had to get depressed like that. I didn't even know these are students. I didn't know if they had inspiration within themselves. It was the Lord who would bring them immediately as I thought that way. All my sadness disappeared. And from that very first group, we also got very brilliant students. One had a doctorate in statistics, one a doctorate in genetics, another one was MTech in physics, and all those students are now doing wonderful work. Many have also become acharyas in ashrams. Do you see my point? So it is the I that is the cause of all this worry. Everyone belongs to God, no one belongs to each other. Having understood this much, now the question arises as to how we can resolve the problem. Remember, I am talking to you from the spiritual standpoint because you are all spiritual seekers. You have come for a spiritual camp. You have been studying the scriptures, and therefore, first of all, let us think on these lines. The Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Mohi Vamshu Sanatana Gita 15.7. Lord Krishna says, Jiva is my amsha, meaning Jiva, the individual being, is my part. Therefore, I am part of that Lord. I am directly connected with the Lord. And in the same way, all of you and all others, whom we call as father, mother, brother, sister, wife, children, etc., are all jivas, and therefore everyone is an amsha of God. The point is that everyone belongs to God. No one belongs to each other. I belong to God, but I am part of God. The other jiva, that is my child, is also part of God. Raising children, we are forgetting this important aspect. We think that we are an independent entity and the other entity child belongs to us. But remember that we ourselves belong to someone else, the Lord. A wave arises in the ocean. That wave belongs to the ocean, and every other wave also belongs to the same ocean. And if the wave has a notion that it doesn't belong to the ocean, it should apply some lotion of understanding. One wave is not born of another wave. Every wave born of the ocean. According to Vedanta, which we are studying, are we this physical body? We have got a jiva which is residing here, which is different from the physical body. When the parents say that this is my child and I gave birth to this child, the question arises as to what really was born of the parents. Remember, the mother and father have only supplied the material for the physical body of that jiva. The jiva as such was not created by the parents. Let us think spiritually. Let us see this point, the example of a house. A contractor brings together all the materials such as cement, bricks, and wood, etc., that go to make a house. Then he rearranges or puts together all the materials. He merely supplies the material. He does not create the house all by himself. The mother and father are only the suppliers of the material of the physical body of that jiva live in. The parents do not have the faintest idea as to how that physical body is made, what exactly happens, and how it happens in the mother's womb. The mother doesn't know. So, what are we taking credit for? When we start thinking about this matter seriously, then suddenly the notion of that I-ness or the sense of doership appears to be false. It is a false notion to think that we are taking care of the child. Who took care of the child in the womb? The one who took care of the child then will also take care of troubles later on as well. We seem to have an unnecessary sense of doership that we are doing something. So, from the Vedantic standpoint, let us understand that we belong to God. Every jiva also belongs to God. What we are providing is only material for the physical body of that jiva, not the jiva per se. A jiva comes into this world uh, of his or her own, fulfill some kind of destiny here. Every one of us has come to this world the same manner. We have also come with some kind of capital with us. There is some purpose. It just happens that the members of a family are all in the same house. There is a different reason for everyone to be here. Everyone has come for a different purpose. For example, when you travel by plane or a train, we don't even know who our co-passengers will be. Once we get into the plane, we find who they are. One karma was common to all the passengers of that plane, that all of them wanted to travel on the same day by the same plane. They are all together only because of a common karma. If you ask them individually as to where they are going and why they are going, everyone will have a different answer. One will say he has to attend an interview. The second will want an admission in a college. The third will be going to attend a marriage. The fourth to see a girl for marriage. The fifth to attend some funeral, and so on. There is such a variety of reasons for them to travel. The only common thing is that they are all traveling on the same plane by the same on the same day by the same plane. That is all. Now, in a given family, there are mother, father, and children. There must be some kind of common karma because of which they have come one place. But everyone has come for a different purpose, reason. They spend some time together and share good and bad times. Then, like fellow travelers in the example above, they get down at different places and go their own. They may say hello to each other and take down each other's addresses as if they intend to keep in touch with each other. For some time, they keep contact too. Afterwards, they may lose touch with each other. So, all of us have come into this world for different purposes. Therefore, let us remove this I-ness and man-ness and look at it from a more objective standpoint. Khalil Gibran wrote a book called The Prophet. In this book, he states that children come through you, they don't belong to you. Like the arrow which comes through the bow but does not belong to that bow. It just follows its own course. The Lord is the Father, the Mother, and the Grandfather. Having come to this point, let us examine further. Lord Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita, Pita Hamasya Jagataha Mata Dhata Pita Gita 9.17. The Lord says, I am the mother and the father and the grandfather of this universe. Why do you, the parents, think that you have become the mother and father? Think of this. First of all, our vision must become very clear. Then our very way of looking at the whole situation will change. When we conduct our Vedanta training course, many people ask, Swamiji, how are the brahmacharis shaping up? Who do you think is a very promising one? I tell them, I will never make any judgment because we don't know till the last moment how the brahmacharis are going to turn out. Sometimes we think that a certain brahmachari is coming up very nicely. He is very bright and brilliant. The next day he comes and says, Swamiji, I am quitting. On the other hand, sometimes when we think of a brahmachari as not so bright or capable, and we think that we may have committed a mistake in selecting, he turns out to be the very best student. It is very strange. I have stopped judging now. Let Bhagwan, why should I judge? What is our role? Next, now having understood this much, let us consider the next important thing that is what is our role. Our role should be rooted in the fact that we belong to God and the whole scheme of things. Each of us is an instrument in the hands of the Lord. Now, the Lord is so great that He gives an opportunity to everyone to do something and achieve something. He gives credit to. In Gita also, it is said, "Nimittamantram bhavasam." Arjuna said, Bhagwan, I am not going to fight. If I do so, my relatives and teachers will be. Bhagwan responded, do you mean to say that if you do not kill them, they will not die? Are they going to remain immortal? Arjun, you are just an instrument. Whether you are there or not, whatever is going to happen will happen. Only you will miss the credit, and I am giving you the credit. When you are there, you do it. Remember, things will happen without you also. Nobody is indispensable in this world anyway. So understand that each of us is an amsha, part of the Lord. The real mother and father of the whole universe is Bhagavan. The great uh, Maharashtrian saint Ramdas Swami said that there is one Prakriti, nature, and then there is Parameshwar, Paramatma, the Lord. Where did the third entity I come from? This I is a thief. Where does this I come in picture? My role is that of an instrument. I am not the doer, but I am an instrument of doing. The doer is the Lord. What is my role? The Upanishad, the very first shloka says, "Riturnaya prapyate phalam karma kim phalam karma tajjadam." Upanishad first. By the command of the Creator of the world, the fruits of action are gained. When Jagat Karta, Lord the Doer, there, what can this I do? Slowly we come to realize that the parents may play the role of an instrument. Now the Lord has given them a chance to be the mother or father of a given child. But they know that this child belongs to Bhagavan and they also belong to Bhagavan. Now, what is the best thing that they can do for this child? They used to say that your role is like that of a farmer or a gardener. You do not create the seed, you do not create the soil. The potential power is already in the seed. You do not inject anything in the seed. The role of a farmer, an agriculturist, or a gardener is to prepare the soil properly, then to sow the seed at the right time and to give them the required amount of water, shade, sunlight. In short, to provide a conducive environment for the seed to grow. If the seed have something in them, they will sprout. But if the seeds themselves are roasted once, or if the soil is not a proper one, or there is too much rain, or too little, then what can the gardener do? So, in the first place, seed has to have the potential forward to something. Then there are other necessary conducive factors. Our effort is only one of the contributory factors. It is the totality of this world that really acts on the seed. Therefore, remember that the karma phala, result of the efforts, does not come because of our karma action alone. Our duty is to provide the right atmosphere in a given situation. If the seed has potential in it, it will grow. यत्ने कृते यदि न सिद्ध्यति गोत्र दोषः. If you have put forth all your efforts and the results have not ensued, then you are not to be blamed. Your conscience will be clear that you have done all that you. This is true not only with reference to parenting, but with reference to every activity in life. Now, when the children are born, what is your job? Your job is to give clothing, shelter, education. Along with education, we have to give them good culture also, namely the samskaras. Many times, parents who want their children cultured send them to our cultural classes for children, Bal Vihar. The parents say, you go to BV, we will watch TV. So they want culture only for their children and not for themselves. One of the reasons we are conducting this family spiritual camp is that the family should grow together. There is a famous saying, a family that prays together stays together. When parents and children are all together, their vision is the same. They can live together harmoniously. We have seen many times that the parents show a lot of concern for their children. And if you ask them, what do you yourself know about any of the scriptures or culture? Their answer is, we don't know anything. And they take culture for granted. They think we don't need to know anything because we have come from India and it is in every cell of our body, every drop of our blood. The fact is that many of the parents themselves do not know anything of their culture. What do the children say? Do you know what your children say behind your back? They say that you are hypocrites, that you have got double standards, one standard for yourself and another for your children. The children say, why are our parents worried all the time about the American culture? Why are they of the opinion that West has an undesirable influence? Why has everything suddenly become bad? If it is so bad here, why did our parents come here from India? Even I can't answer this way of looking at things. What is so bad here? Everything seems to be fine as far as the chance to make money is concerned. But when it comes to culture, everything appears bad to your parents, to you parents. This way of viewing things is not correct. In our over anxiety and attachments, we have become very prejudiced. We have to be honest with ourselves. We have to ask ourselves if we wanted our children to grow up in a certain way, did we really pay attention to it from the very beginning? How much attention did you pay? If we had paid attention, then the situation would not have been that bad. I don't say that the child will not follow his or her nature and that they will not be a little rebellious here and there. But if parents are cautious from the very beginning, then children will not turn out to be so rebellious. So, if we want them to be cultured, we also have to follow the same rules. For your children, the best thing that you can do is to give them food, clothing, shelter, education, and some culture. We must start with yourself. We must start with ourselves first. Sometimes parents ask me, Swamiji, when should we start teaching our values and culture to our student children? I tell them, before the child is born. How? You should already have these values in you. Then only will your child imbibe them. The child starts his learning process while he or she is in the mother's womb. That is the rationale behind prenatal education. Our scriptures also believe this. Our scriptures say that pregnant women should imbibe only those things that are of a noble nature, since that what they think and do are passed on to the children. Our Gurudev Swami Chinmayananda used to speak about this subject in a very outspoken and humorous way. He said that some of these mothers go on watching wild programs on TV even during pregnancy. They go to all sorts of parties and take part in dancing, drinking, and singing, etc. Therefore, when the baby is born, he or she also comes out whistling. And in olden days, the marriages were conducted at an early age. People would criticize and say, what? Wedding at the age of 16? At this age, the children hardly understand anything. Now, when they are marrying at the age of 30 or so, does it mean that they have acquired all the required knowledge? There is still so much of ignorance in them. Imparting culture to our children is the most important thing, but we must begin with ourselves. That's why Gurudev said, culture cannot be taught, it can only be caught. When children watch their parents, they automatically do the same. Culture, therefore, has to be in us so that it can be passed on to them. Some parents do not prepare. Our problem is our own ignorance. The other problem is that we have not prepared ourselves properly for the job of parenting. I asked somebody, why did you marry? He said, tell you the truth, I didn't. But you are a married person? I said. He said, no, Swamiji, suddenly one day I found that I was married. Everything happened so fast, I don't know. I really can't say. And then after a year, I had a child also. For many parents, the child comes as a surprise. They seem to be caught unawares. They said that to me. It seems that they are not prepared for parenthood. Do you remember how much preparation you did in school or college before your annual examination? Even now, when we go for an interview, no preparation, interview, we prepare so much. And when it comes to living our entire life, there is no preparation. The reason life has become a problem is that we are so ill prepared. While thinking about these things, Please don't get scared. Heavens will not fall down. I am going very slowly and steadily, thought by thought. Since there are really no one or two line answers for these questions, we have to understand the entire picture. We should try to give that type of culture, create that type of atmosphere for the children so that they can grow imbibing these values. And that's why Gurudev started this kind of spiritual camps where the children can imbibe cultural values from others also. Many times, parents themselves cannot give values. This is where scriptural teaching through some teacher comes in. Set an example. Either earlier I hinted upon one point that if we want our children to be nice, intelligent, well behaved, cultured, and obedient, we will have to start by developing the same qualities in ourselves. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is very clearly said, Yadyadacharati shreshtastattadevetaro janaha. Gita 3.21. People follow the teacher. Whatever standard is set by the elders or the leaders or great persons, the rest of the people follow the same. We have seen in history when a king became Buddhist, the whole Praja, the subjects, also followed Buddhism. There is a famous statement, Yatha Raja, Tatha Praja. As the king, so the subjects. This is not very true. This is not only true with reference to the king and the subjects, but in other circumstances also. Therefore, we must keep this in mind that if we want the children to follow a particular ideal or a way of living, then we must ourselves live that way. Otherwise, there will be a contradiction amounting to hypocrisy. Let us not impose our ideas on the children to fulfill our dreams through them. There is a general there is generally a tendency in every human being to impose his or her own ideas on others. We may not be doing it very cautiously, consciously, or deliberately, but it happens. You may take it as a kind of dictatorship. This tendency of imposing is present in every human being in a smaller or a bigger measure. We think we know and we are right, and therefore we want to impose our ideas on the other person. Sometimes, if we have failed to achieve something in our life, we want to experience and enjoy that achievement indirectly to our children. For example, if I wanted to become a doctor and I did not become one, I want my son or daughter to become a doctor. Sometimes the mother wants the child to become something and the father wants him or her to become something else. Now, what can the poor child do? Once a husband and his wife were arguing about what their child should become. The wife wanted the child to become one thing, the husband another. Then a passerby asked, "But what does your son want to become?" They said, "He is yet to be born." Even before the birth, also there is fighting. So one's nature is to impose others' ideas on others. Impose one's ideas on others. Secondly, we want to fulfill our dreams through our children. For example, some architects have ideas of building beautiful buildings, but they cannot make all the buildings themselves. So they advise their clients to this or that design for their buildings. This way, the architects get to fulfill their own desires and wishes and plans through other people. Similarly, researchers in the medical field have no experiment upon their patients, have to experiment upon their patients. There are a variety of similar examples where it may be necessary to involve others to fulfill a larger dream. So we have to be very careful. We have to see if we are imposing our desires on our children or we are allowing them to grow on their own. Are we trying to fulfill our selfish dreams and ambitions to them? We have to be careful. Look for the cause. In the human body, whenever there is some kind of infection, virus, or some disease, the body shows some symptoms. There are expectations, there are exceptions, such as cancer, which does not show any symptom for a long time and therefore goes undetected. But generally, there are some symptoms such as pain, etc. Such symptoms really are a blessing because they draw our attention. This is how we become immediately alert and sensitive to the fact that there is a problem with the body. In the same way, with reference to parenting, you should become sensitive to children's reactions. By extension, the same generally by extension, the same generally applies to other people with whom you come in contact. Suppose a person is generally very nice to me and then suddenly starts to behave in a peculiar manner, then I should immediately become alert. Why has this person's reaction or response changed towards me? I must first look for the cause within myself. Generally, our tendency is to blame the other person. We ask, why are you saying that? Why are you behaving like that? A child is behaving alright all the time and suddenly he starts behaving in a peculiar manner. There must be some reason because without a cause there is no effect. We must try to find out what the reason might be. There could be various reasons. One of the reasons could be that the child is following a simple growing pattern. As you know, when the child goes through various stages of childhood, teenage, and youth, certain physical changes take place in their body. At the same time, some mental changes also take place. All the vasanas, samskaras, tendencies which were dormant earlier also start becoming manifest. And as I said earlier, we must remember our teenage and our youth also. We also passed through different stages. Sometimes we give undue importance to these changes and worry too much. You must remember that it is only a passing phase and that it will just pass away. Although I don't want to say anything about myself or my life, in this context, let me give you a personal example. As a child, whenever my mother asked me to read religious books to her, I would do it very willingly. Then came a time when I stopped doing that. She would, uh, she would to ask me to read Ramayana. I not only refused to read it to her, but I also criticized Ramayana. I know that you won't believe this now because now I'm giving a lot of discourses on Ramayana. My mother also said, do you remember what you used to say about Ramayana? Now see what is happening. Sometimes people ask me, Swamiji, do you ever feel angry, get angry? I tell them that at home I was known as temperamental because I was 50% temper and 50% mental. Now I have given up anger to a very great extent. Many of you even even after my telling won't believe it, but it is a fact. It is the truth. My point here is that everybody goes through these phases. Changes do take place in children, but it is only a passing phase. You don't have to worry too much about it. It will just go away. Remember that this type of reaction is happening only because of their age, as well as the influence show some anger, as well as the influence of the outside world, that is friends and peers. So your child also wants to show some anger because he feels that he is an independent entity. Up till now, he was going under the shadow of someone. Now he is independent. So he has to assert that individuality. The same thing happens with women as well. Aren't they asserting more and more? They don't want to remain under someone. They say that they are also independent. So what I want to bring to your notice is that you be aware of how the mind functions. At home, suppose you have a dog which you love very much. Now, when a child is born and you pay more attention to the child, the dog feels very bad. And similarly, when the second child is born, the first child starts reacting. It is just a play of the mind. Everybody wants to be independent. Everybody wants to show and assert that he or she can do this or that on his or her own. Why should they listen to someone all the time? This is how it goes. So why should we blame them? Instead, we have to understand. Generally, most parents say, my child is doing this and that. What should I do immediately? How should I control the child? The reason they are upset is because they don't understand the entire vision of life or how the mind functions. And also, we do not see how we are reacting, how we are reacting. Thus, we aggravate the whole problem. So, please become sensitive to the changes taking place in your children and be aware of their reactions. Find out the cause. The waste is not a waste. You people have come to this country either of your own will or due to some other circumstances. It doesn't matter whether you wanted to come here or not. The fact is that you are here and now you are working here, earning here, getting all the benefits of this society. But but then when it comes to culture, you are all the time talking as though the West is bad. What is happening with us is that when we are dealing with our children, we tell them that as far as the culture of the West is concerned, it is a waste. We say in India, everything is wonderful. When it comes to values, we give them a glorious picture of India. When our children go to India, they find that it is long, not any different there. There also there are such things and as discos and bars, thus we are not objective. Those who have come from India have already been educated and brought up there before they came to this country. but their children are born here and growing up here. Because of this, the children's perspective is totally different. The atmosphere outside is different from the one at home. They are growing up in dual atmospheres. We say that the children should remain totally unaffected. It is not possible. How can we expect the outside factors not to influence the children? How can they remain totally untouched by the outside influences? When the mind of great yogis and tapasvis, ascetics slips. So take it for granted that the outside influences will always be there. Therefore, whenever we talk to the children, we should never say that this is good or bad. We have to give them a balanced view. A great Sanskrit poet says, anything that is old does not mean it is gold. So also, everything new is not necessarily bad. Look at things objectively and then accept or reject them. Ramcharitmanas puts it very beautifully. Jadachetanam nadoshamaya vishwakina karatar santaha sabhagaharipaya pariharivaripara. This world is a mixture of sentient and insentient things and beings. It is a mixture of good and bad. It is like milk mixed with water. They say that the proverbial swan takes only the milk and leaves the water. The same way, the saints or the intelligent people take what is good and give up what is bad. Therefore, we should try to give the children the vision that they should not just get carried away by the outer beauty of things, but try to see what is really good. For example, people in the West work very hard, so why don't we imbibe that value of hard work? Similarly, there are so many other beautiful values here in the West, like punctuality, cleanliness, etc. Teach the children about the nice things here, which we don't find in India. Teach your children to be discriminative and to absorb whatever good they can see here and just drop whatever they see as not right. The same attitude should be applied with reference to India. So please see that when dealing with your children, you do not give them these ideas or division. That is, whatever is here is bad and whatever is there is good. Avoid sermons. We have another habit, the habit of giving sermons. Believe me, nobody wants to hear sermons. That's why generally, whenever and wherever sermons are given, people fall asleep. One church had advertised, come early if you want to have good back seat. Parents also give a lot of sermons, a lot of advice. Let me ask you, whether you really like advice? You don't. I have found that even when a person seeks some advice and you give one, the person immediately says, I have already done that, or it doesn't work here. A person said to me, Swamiji, if you see any fault in me, please tell me. I said, I will never do that because if I point out your fault, you will immediately justify and give me some explanation. That lady said, no, no, I will not. After a few days, one day she said something, and I immediately said, you see, it is not like that. She started explaining. I kept quiet. She suddenly realized. She said, oh, you had said that I will start explaining once you point out my fault. You are right. I am trying to justify myself. Nobody likes getting orders, commands, sermons, or advice from others. Be a facilitator. Then the question is how to convey our point of view to the children without making it look like an advice or sermon. We have to deal with them in a friendly manner. We should not make them feel that we are teaching or advising them. Instead, that idea should come from themselves. Big businesses and corporations have a strategy of making their employees do what the management wants them to do without making it sound like an order from above. The company wants their people to follow certain things, but they are aware that if they issue certain circulars and notices, the employees won't like it. They therefore call in a facilitator who conducts a lot of brainstorming sessions with the employees. The facilitator has already told the management what the final outcome will be, but he gets the employees involved in a dialogue, and everybody thinks that they are participating and that these are their ideas. In the end, the facilitator asks, is this what you all want to do? Yes, say the employees. The facilitator says, then go ahead. In fact, this is what the management also wanted. This is called a strategy. This is one kind of approach you might take with regard to the children. You have to find out how that can be brought to their notice so that they think of it as their own vision or their own understanding or their own wish. Of course, it depends upon the child you are dealing with. It is possible that you may be having a child who may be more mature than yourself. He may teach you a few things. It happens that some parents go through depression and the child brings them out of it. Some children are such that you need not say anything to them. To others, you may have to say something to convey a point. Still others may be sensitive, and once you show some displeasure, they understand. Of course, there are some who may not respond to this treatment. For them, you may have to find another way. So it is a very tricky situation. No rules can be laid down. So orders, advice, sermons are disliked by people. Therefore, be a facilitator. This is again a difficult job, but this is what you have to do. Take an interest in their interest. Whenever we want another person to take an interest in what we are doing or what we want him to do, we first have to take an interest in his interest. Let me give you a couple of examples on this point. When I came to USA for the first time in 1986, there was an international camp in Olivet, Michigan. I was totally new. One day I was told to go and speak to the youth group. I went to the lecture hall and saw one person sitting with legs stretched, another was lying down. They were not sitting properly in class. I took a seat and tried to break the ice. I asked, did you know that I was supposed to come for this class? Some said yes, some said no. I said, all right, whether you knew or not, I am already here. Now I have not come here to give any lecture or advice because you must have heard enough of it and you must also be tired and fed up with that. They agreed. They were honest. I continued. So, therefore, I am not going to speak or advise. Now you tell me what you want to hear. Suddenly the ball was in their court. They had to say something. So one asked, what is this brahmachari training course in Bombay? I told them about the books. Next, they asked, "What is your opinion about the youth in America?" I said that I had come to America only 2 days ago, and so couldn't pass any judgment until I had lived here a while. Then they asked, "So, what difference do you find between the youth of India and the youth of America?" I said, youth is youth. They resist, protest, and have got questions. But there is one thing that is different about the youth in India. They don't sit the way you are sitting. Suddenly, all of them straightened themselves out and sat properly. So, my first meeting with them turned out to be a very wonderful session. And thereafter, I had many other meetings also in different places. I also found that all the youth, when they are in a group, listen but pretend not to. They may look at you, but the moment you look at them, immediately they turn their eyes. In India, it is different. There, they look at you, and when you look at them, they feel very happy and look back at you. There is eye to eye contact when you communicate. One more thing I have found here, if you speak to the youth as one to one, it is wonderful. They listen to you and they are very nice. But the moment they are in a group, the group psychology takes over and the experience is totally different. They have discussed all their serious problems as to what is bothering them at the emotional level, etc. And when I speak to them, they respond very well. They say, "You must speak to our parents also, Swamiji." Let me give you another example. Once I visited some people. The hosts were parents of two sons. The parents told their children, "Now Swamiji is here. Ask whatever questions you want to ask. Ask." The children immediately replied, "We don't have any questions." I told the parents to leave them alone. After breakfast, I went to both of them and I asked, "What is your hobby?" "We love to play baseball," was the reply. I said, "Please teach me. What is this baseball? I want to understand." They said, "You really want to understand?" Immediately they became so enthusiastic about educating me on baseball. They showed me some pictures and videos. Slowly they began asking me all questions about religion and culture. But earlier, when the mother said, "Ask, Swamiji, ask," in a military like manner, they did not want to ask me anything. This shows that we have to take an interest in their interest as to what they think, what they like, what they like, and so on. Then slowly a rapport is built up. Now I come the most important point of establishing a rapport. Establish a rapport. It is extremely important to establish a rapport between the parents and the children. In the children's heart, there has to be love and total confidence in you. They must be able to confide in you. When this kind of rapport is built up, everything else becomes very easy. Otherwise, even minor things can be very irritating and disturbing. It is said that if I like you, then I like everything about you. I like the way you look, the way you speak, whatever you say, and whatever you. But if I dislike you, then even if you come in front of me, I say, "What did you come in front of me?" You must have found this behavior in our relationship. Even in a love marriage, this can happen. While they are courting, they talk to each other for hours on end. It is always a wonder for me as to what they talk about for so long. Then, after the marriage, some kind of a strained relationship develops. Then, instead of talking to each other directly, they start talking to each other through lawyers. That means the rapport is broken. When this happens, then everything is a problem. The same principle applies with reference to everyone, including children. Please see that you build up a rapport. The child must have so much confidence in you that even if he murders somebody, he should be able to tell you that he has done so. The children shouldn't want to or have to hide anything from the parents. Some parents have immediate problems. The situation is serious or grave, but remember, however grave the situation is, it has become so because of your earlier negligence. You did not take care of the situation in the earlier stage. Now you can't go back in time and do anything about it. Whatever the situation, even now we can start building up a rapport. If, however, you find that you are speaking or you are doing something for the child irritates the child, please stop. You have to go via the indirect medium through someone else for whom the child has got some regard. The more you try to do it yourself, the more serious it becomes and aggravates the problem. You should be really worried or anxious if the child is into alcohol, drugs, or some bad company such as organized gangs. If you are worried or anxious, your anxiety is understandable. But if the child is studying properly, his or her grades are alright, he or she is not into drugs or smuggling or gangs or bad company, then you don't have to worry. Maybe the child is coming home late at night, but at least it is coming home. It is not as if I have not talked to your children. The boys and girls here have told me, Swamiji, there is no limit what our parents expect from us. They want us to become first class sportsman, first class musician, first class artists, first class dancers, first class students, and first class professionals. And we don't know what else they want us to do. Sometimes we want to know their track record to see whether they themselves were all these things. They have also said, Swamiji, if we really want to become bad and do bad things, our parents will have no control over us. They are not with us all the time. How do they know what we do when we go to school and college? We can easily come home and play the role model that the parents want us to play at home and be totally different outside. They will never find out. Why do they force us to be all that? From Bal Vihar to youth camps, we happily go to these places as the parents want us to do. What more do they want? Why are they after us all the time? Sometimes I do really wonder, what more do you want? Don't you think you are asking for too much? So, on the other hand, our on the one hand, our I-ness, mine-ness, possessiveness, and attachment, and on other hand, too much expectation from them is the real cause of the problem. Let the kids grow at their own pace and do things which they want to. Slowly you try to discipline. As I said before, I am not going to give you some magical solution or anything like that. What is required is not a magical solution, but a right vision of looking at things. In Sanskrit, there is a small verse that deals with parenting, a small shloka and so beautifully put. लालयेत् पञ्चवर्षाणि दशवर्षाणि ताडयेत् प्राप्ते तु षोडशे वर्षे ते मित्रवदाचरेत् लालयेत् पञ्चवर्षाणि fondle your child up to the age of 5. Treat him like a king or queen or god. Dasavarshani Tadaye. The next 10 years, literal meaning will not will be to beat him up. That does not mean that as soon as the 15th birthday is over, you take a cane and start beating him up. No. Tadiyat means shikshayat. Be strict with him, discipline him, educate him. This is what is required. Strictness does not mean that you become cruel. No, as I said before, some children may not need any kind of discipline. Others may require a little. When they reach the age of 16, then you treat them like your friends. What do we do? We are following the advice in reverse. We just allow them in earlier years to do whatever they want to do. When they become 16 years old, we treat them like a 5-year child. When they are older and you treat them like a child, they will naturally say, I am not a child. Then they become wild, while the parents want them to be mild. They keep talking about discipline and teaching the children. I remember one anecdote, a true incident that appeared in a magazine. A father wrote that his daughter was studying in a school and was given some project to do. Generally, the children never do anything on time. Only on the last day they start panic and say, tomorrow I have to submit the project. I have not even begun. I have to go and bring all the materials required, including pen and paper. Now, mommy and daddy immediately spring the service of the child. They go to an all night open shop and bring the things and sit with the child and do the project. Now, this father was different. He told his daughter, nothing doing. You knew that you had to submit this project. You had so many days. You didn't. Why didn't you do it earlier? Why didn't you ask me to get the things needed for this project? Now I am not going to do anything. The child started crying and said, you can't let me down. If I don't submit my project, I will fail and will get punishment. The father said, doesn't matter if you fail. Will you accept? um, will you accept if I fail? Asked the daughter. The father said, you have already failed in the performance of your duty. So what difference does it make? When that child found that the father was not wavering from his position at all, she couldn't do anything. She learned a lesson of a lifetime. Please note that the father didn't get angry with her or beat her up or do anything of that sort. He just said that he was not going to do anything at the 11th hour. Then that child learned that she will have to do things herself. This is called Shikshayet Educate. Many times the children do what they do not because they want to do it, but under what is known as peer pressure. I have spoken about this to the youth also. I told them, you talk about this revolting against the parents because the parents ask you to do this and that. But have you got courage to revolt against peer pressure? If you think that you are very independent, how come the independent spirit arises only in front of the parents? Why doesn't that happen? That independent spirit arise in front of your friends. How come your friends succeed pressuring you? Why can't you stand up and say that you are not going to do this? So now they will also think along these lines. Sometimes people ask me this question, living in the West, how are we going to teach our values and our culture to our children? It can be done. You must give them that vision of discretion and discrimination, of seeing what is good and what is bad, and what will happen to them if they follow either path. So many people who live here are doing the same thing and they have no problem. Once the right vision and values are given to them, they will follow them to a great extent. I end by repeating the first statement that I made, that is, keep cool, relax. There is nothing to worry unless the child is going to extremes. Keep all these points in mind while dealing with them. I know there must be many more questions in your mind. As I have already told you, I cannot give solutions to every individual problem. Each case is different. If you come to me with a problem about your son, I will have to know which son you are talking about and what exactly he did. You can solve these problems yourself once you have this knowledge with you. In the light of this knowledge, you will find the ways and means to deal with the different situations that may arise. You will find that you will succeed. In this whole process, always remember that you belong to God. Invoke God's blessings on yourself, on your child, on everybody. Lord is Antaryami, the inner controller. I would say, Oh Lord, I cannot change this person directly. I don't know what is happening to him, but you, O Lord, can do anything. So please shower your blessings on him. You are the inspirer of thoughts. So please inspire his mind. If you pray like this and become calm and quiet, things will change and change for good. Thank you very much and wish you all the best. And I also wish all your children a very bright future. Hari Om. Om Shri Chinmaya Sadguru Namaha. Hari Om Shri Shona. Hari Om Sadguru Namaha.